So welcome everyone. Apologies to the older members that will have heard some of this before, but it's just something I have to say to new members, so you understand what we're about. Um, Life on the Level. We're not a company. We're not a charity. We kind of don't exist, but we are made up of volunteers, and we've all had serious or chronic balance conditions. We don't even have a bank account, so there is no fear of ever being charged for anything. And if ever you get an email from me saying, "Help, I've lost my phone, send me £150," it's fake. So there's no money ever involved. We love the fact this is free. And to be honest, the volunteers, the name of the group is nothing. You are the group. You join initially to be supported, but you'll be amazed how you end up supporting others just by the contact that we have together. Um, and I'll just try and run through what some of you may be experiencing, just so you know you're in good company. Um, you'll probably, if you, especially if you're new to a balance condition, you won't believe anything called just a balance condition could be so disruptive to your life, to your whole life. To some of you, it's a hard stop. Everything stops. For others, you've got a mind-blowing, intermittent yo-yo ride of good days, bad days. If you work, if you're employed, you've got an issue where employers and colleagues are wondering why you're fine on a Monday, but you couldn't even get into work on a Tuesday, but you're back there by Thursday. And then to top it all off on Thursday, they go, "But you look so well." Um, there's very few words you can ever find to explain to friends, loved ones, even doctors, of what are you going through? What are you experiencing? How it plays on your mind for every minute of every day. And again, everyone thinks you look so well. You may well by now be familiar that our beautiful, lovely NHS is broken. Trying to get help quickly and the appropriate experts is so difficult. Depends where you live in the country. Some areas there's nothing, other areas there's better. So sometimes you can be left waiting for years to try and get the right help. You're probably worried when you go out if members of the public will think you're drunk or on drugs because you're swaying. The message there is don't be, but we'll deal with that later. And then we've all had, I had it, I've had many years, some 20 years ago. We've all had this one. And sadly, you will get it many times from well-meaning friends. Are you sure it's not just in your head? And it isn't. Yes, you're experiencing it, but you're not making it up. You might be grieving for the old you, wondering with a bit of anger, why me? That's perfectly natural. And our guest speaker today is going to talk a lot more about that and how we get over it. If what you've just heard is you, I've got some really good news. Things are going to get better via this support group. You're with over 300 friends, so you're never going to be alone again. You'll hear more about how you can communicate with other members if you wish to. But importantly, you'll learn there are paths to get better, to a better place, whether it's managing a long-term condition or whether it's complete remission. You are going to learn about that. Probably the most important thing you're going to learn about is how we can use our minds to try and cope and manage better with what is happening to us at the moment. So I hope that reassures you, you're in the right place. We will touch upon grisly conditions and how it's affecting our lives, but this group is all about being positive and how we're going to get to that better place. So we don't mope about. We try not to feel sorry for ourselves. We're all about getting better. Um, there'll be a bit more from me in the middle of the meeting, but importantly now, why I hope most of you are here is to hear from our guest speaker. Just before I introduce Pippa, Claire, if you can give us a wave, Claire Thorpe, audiologist from the Royal Preston, and Claire is an official helper on Life on the Level. And Claire and I will help moderate questions later on as we go along. Gaynor, can you give us a wave if you're there, Gaynor? Gaynor is a member, Triple PD, and she's going to talk about a WhatsApp group um, for people with Triple PD. Jean, I don't know if you're on the meeting. Oh, you are, Jean. Apologies, I couldn't find you to let you in earlier to say hello. Jean also is going to talk about another WhatsApp group for partners. Because just as you as members have got these awful balance conditions to put up with, your partners are just as lost on how the heck do they do the best for you and with you. So we've also got this subgroup for members' partners. So I think we're ready to go to the main guest speaker, who's Pippa. Um, Pippa, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and explain your background, which all I'm going to say is very interesting to have a professional who's also experienced a serious chronic balance condition, because I think that gives such as Pippa great insight into not only what works to help us and make us better, but knows firsthand what we're actually facing. So, Pippa, if I can ask you to unmute and ask you to introduce yourself, tell us all about yourself, and begin your presentation. Thank you.
Hi, so I've messed up and I've messed with my settings. I'm not very good with IT,
No, don't worry.
but
We're
I'm
not we're
just
not
gonna.
charging anyone today, so they're going to get good value for money.
So I'm gonna try again, but I think it'll come through wrong to start with. Because, because I wanted to not look like I was reading in the sky, but I'm gonna look like
Don't
gonna be
worry.
looking in the sky. So I press share on that. And then I have to change the settings on something. And I've forgotten how we did that.
That's it.
No, that's the wrong way around, isn't it? And then we did
That's
it
yeah, not that one. That's
that.
showing your notes.
Sorted. Is that
That's
right
it.
now?
You've got it. Well done. Over to you, Pippa.
So I'm just going to own the fact that I am being compassionate with myself and doing a lot of reading today. And you'll see why that's important as we go through the talk. So I'm Pippa Braund. I'm an audiologist and coach, and I work with people with chronic dizziness, tinnitus, and hyperacusis at Arrow Park Hospital in the Wirral. And I also work privately through audiology coaching, and I do contract work for the Steady Coach. I don't know if any of you are aware of that YouTube channel. So my talk today is about treating people with triple PD, vestibular migraine, and MDDS using a psychological or mind-body approach. And I wanted to start with telling you that I am not used to doing presentations. And this subject is very personal for me. So I feel really nervous right now. And this is because my emotional reaction to giving a talk is having an effect on how my body feels. So I feel tension in my chest, I feel butterflies in my tummy, and other situations when emotions affect the body include your face going red when you're embarrassed and water actually coming out of your eyes when you're having a strong emotion, like sadness or even joy sometimes, with no conscious control over this whatsoever. So the reason that chronic dizziness is very personal to me, as Kevin has just mentioned, is that I've been dizzy myself. So in 2006, I got bronchitis. And when I recovered from that, I started moving around again and I was dizzy. When that didn't resolve, I saw ear, nose, and throat, and I was diagnosed with migraine associated vertigo, which is now called vestibular migraine because this was a while ago. And that was based on me having a migraine history and chronic headache before the dizziness, and that the dizziness was worse, getting a bit personal here, with my menstrual period. I also had other migraine symptoms like speech problems a few years into the problem. I was given lots of migraine preventative medications and I was referred to neurology at the Walton Centre. I tried various migraine lots of different migraine preventative medications, lots of different combinations of migraine preventative medications. And I tried lots of different diets and lots of other random approaches. Some of them helped a bit, but not enough. And some of them didn't help at all, or they gave me side effects, which made the drugs just not worth taking. I had chronic dizziness for 9 years, and this was an incredibly hard time for me. I struggled to work. I eventually had to stop working. I needed a lot of help to take care of my children, and the dizziness affected every area of my life. So it wasn't just specific migraine attacks, it was chronic dizziness all the time as well, on top of those. So, yeah, and I had like two separate occasions which lasted a year where I rarely even left the house. Um, yeah, I won't go into that, I will get all upset. So, after about 9 years of it, I started reading books on chronic pain and about different methods to treat chronic pain, which didn't involve medications and which could also help with migraine, chronic dizziness, and tinnitus. To start with, I didn't really believe that it would work, but I was absolutely desperate and I started to apply these methods. I made a full recovery from this about 8 years ago, and I am now completely off all medication. So, by recovery, I do not mean that I've learned to tolerate and live well with symptoms. I mean, the symptoms are gone. So, I can run on the treadmill about 5 days a week, no symptoms during or after. I can jump on my kids' trampoline. The thought of me being dizzy in a certain situation just never enters my head at all anymore. I go years without symptoms. And if I do get the odd symptom, it's very short lived. I know exactly what I need to do and it just goes away. So, diagnoses which can recover using this approach. So, I'm going to briefly go through. Sorry, I'm on agenda. Dear agenda. To start with, I'm going to briefly go through the diagnoses which respond to this approach and some of the research into why a psychological mind-body approach to treating these diagnoses is appropriate and can actually stop and prevent the symptoms. This approach isn't about living well with the symptoms, it's about stopping them and them going away. So I'm going to discuss the cause of symptoms through a neural circuit predictive coding model in the way that I do with the people that I see for chronic dizziness. And then we're going to discuss strategies for rewiring the brain to stop the symptoms. There are three main diagnoses which I work with using this approach, and I'm going to discuss each one briefly. The first one is vestibular migraine. So Professor Ray discussed this in the August 2025 talk. So I am not going to go into the diagnosis in depth. That is his area, not mine. But those are the diagnostic criteria. And also it's not just, as I said, the attacks of migraine, it can leave you motion sensitive for longer periods of time as well. So just some interesting facts about migraine. High stress loads have been linked to new onset of migraine changing from episodic to chronic migraine. So chronic migraine is when someone has migraine symptoms for 15 days or more, a month for more than 3 months, whereas episodic migraine is when people have migraines much less frequently than that. And there's some evidence for changes in level of stress as a risk factor for migraine attacks. Stressors contributing to an increased likelihood of migraine can include psychological stressors, including past trauma, particularly childhood trauma, and current life events, and other stressors such as menstrual period, dehydration, and hunger, which can all add to the stress load. These stresses are cumulative. So when I had dizziness and when I had headache, before I had dizziness as well, actually, stresses like menstrual period, dehydration, hunger would always lead to a worsening in symptoms or, a full-on migraine. But now these things do not trigger symptoms at all because now I've worked on all the other stuff going on. Those stresses no longer kind of push it over the threshold into the state where I end up with symptoms. And I even do intermittent fasting now. I'm not suggesting any of you do that though. Just, yeah. People, so NDDS. So this is a false sensation of motion, like rocking, swaying, or bobbing, even when stationary. It's often triggered by prolonged passive motion, such as from a boat, plane, or train trip. Oh, we've got a slide missed out there. I did have a slide on reasons why MDDS is a neural circuit issue, but it hasn't come through. I'm not quite sure why. But anyway, there is evidence that it's affected with stress, that functional MRI scans show the threat response is activated and that kind of thing. But yeah. So these are the diagnostic criteria for triple PD. And it often comes with after another vestibular problem. So someone could have a vestibular weakness in one ear with something like vestibular neuritis. They could do vestibular rehab exercises and still be dizzy well after the 3 months or so in which we'd expect them to compensate. And they may then move on to getting the diagnosis of triple PD. The same thing can happen after BPPV, where the crystals have been moved back to the neutrocal, but the brain has learned dizziness and continues with this symptom. It can also come following a period of psychological distress or other stress, which is one of the criteria. And I want to highlight that most illnesses come with some level of stress. Psychological distress doesn't need to be an obvious trauma, and stress is cumulative. And it's also worth noting that good stress can also have an impact on the stress response, like getting married, moving house, or retiring. This is all subconscious. So it's stress that you're often not consciously aware of. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do these things, but it means that we might need to look at the associated emotions involved so that they don't lead to symptoms. And it doesn't mean, just to add as well, it doesn't mean that you need to stay calm through these things, but feel the associated emotion. So the goal isn't calm, calm, calm all the time. That is not achievable, or even what you want. Triple PD. So researchers reviewed 13 studies on who recovered from vestibular problems and who went on to develop triple PD and didn't recover. And they found that anxiety following vestibular problems, certain personality traits, autonomic arousal, so like a high alert state in the nervous system, increased body vigilance, so really aware of what's going on in the body, and visual dependence were important predictors of who went on to develop chronic dizziness. But the severity of vestibular deficits, initial or subsequent, were not important factors. Functional MRI scans of people with triple PD show that the threat response is activated. So the three diagnoses of triple PD, MDDS, and vestibular migraine are similar because, and the reason why these are the main ones that I use this approach for, there's no diagnostic test to diagnose them. They're diagnosed based on their symptoms and exclusion of other structural causes. They're caused by neural pathways or prediction errors in the brain rather than a structural abnormality. And so they can be considered neural circuit dizziness. There's some overlap between these diagnoses, and people may be given different medications based on which diagnosis they're given, and also different amounts of hope of recovery. Meniere's. So Meniere's is different from the previous three diagnoses because it does have a definite structural component in the acute attacks, unlike the other diagnoses which we've discussed today, which are purely neural circuit issues. If you want more information on this and the diagnostic criteria and symptoms for Meniere's, just look at Professor Ray's talk from August 2025, where he goes through this in depth. The dizziness and unsteadiness that some people get for long periods between acute Meniere's attacks can often be considered as triple PD or vestibular migraine. And so they are 100% applicable for this approach. But the situation with the acute attacks is much more complicated. So the acute attacks are generally thought to be due to a process called endolymphatic hydrops. And interestingly, MRI and CT scans show that endolymphatic hydrops in people without symptoms, and 20% of the normal population has some degree of hydrops. Meniere's has a very high placebo response. The response is about 2/3, which means that when they look into the effectiveness of treatment, lots of people get better just from being in the placebo group without actually receiving the treatment and getting a sham treatment, which is also interesting, just throwing that out there. Professor Ray's talk on Meniere's disease discussed a study where they found two subgroups of Meniere's. One tended to have a history of ear infections, but the other group tended to have low frequency tinnitus in both ears. And that's interesting because it suggests the involvement of a neural circuit, a brain thing, for it to be in both ears rather than just the affected ear. And also, he mentioned some other factors as well, but one of the points that he mentioned was stress as a trigger. Anecdotally, I have noticed emotional triggers for acute attacks in lots of people that I've seen with Meniere's. Sometimes it takes a little bit of digging to work out quite what that emotional trigger was. Like Christmas dinner can be triggering, but people might not necessarily see it that way. But I think there is potential to approach at least some of the symptoms using this approach. Professor Ray also discussed a strong link between Meniere's and migraine and whether the blood flow changes involved in a migraine attack could trigger the Meniere's attacks. But this is really, really speculative at this point. So I'm not going to say anything definite there at all. But the reality is that the worst that can happen if people with Meniere's try this is that they are kinder to themselves and they feel their feelings. So there's not really much to lose. So these are other symptoms that people with neural circuit dizziness frequently have, and they can have any combination of these. So visual disturbances, photosensitivity, head pressure, neck and head pain, difficulty moving, panic attacks, nausea, swaying, rocking and bobbing, spinning vertigo, trampoline walking, leg heaviness or numbness, gravitational pulls, brain zaps, insomnia, disequilibrium, visual snow and floaters, anxiety, changes to symptoms with passive motion, either them getting worse or getting better. It can go either way. And agoraphobia. Gosh, I feel tension in my chest reading that list out. So just to say, the symptoms are real. People are not imagining them. They are not going crazy. They are not making it up. It is not their fault, and they do not want to feel that way. So it is not just that they need to stop being anxious and get over it. And also, full recovery is possible. The experience of dizziness, and we'll see how my tech skills stand up now. But I just wanted to show you a short clip to demonstrate how debilitating these symptoms can be for people watching who haven't experienced them. So these clips were taken from success story interviews, which are from the Steady Coach YouTube channel, and there are over 50 recorded recovery stories on that channel if people want to look. They can be really, really helpful to give people hope. And yeah, so all the people on these little clips now consider themselves to be recovered, and the full interviews are available on the channel. So let's have a go.
We can't hear the sound, Pippa.
Mm,
You have to select share sound when you share screen. So
okay. How do we do that?
you can, if you unshare, if you stop share and then reshare and look for the share sound option. I shall do a quick song for you. Joking,
Right, do
only
I need to
joking,
come
remember.
out of
That's
presenting
it. No,
mode?
no, no, leave present now. If you just reshare with Zoom and select share sound.
So,
And to all members, you can see we do not rehearse anything. It's all live. You should be able to reshare, and there's an option somewhere to click share sound, hopefully.
Yeah, there was a little click box on the right when I saw it before.
Yeah, let's
let's
try again.
try again. But now I can't make it play. Do you
Yeah,
play that?
click play on the screen.
And then as soon as I started taking these steps,
Perfect.
my life completely changed. I felt like true vertigo symptoms of like spinning around. The world was feeling like it was an ocean. I was about to go to bed, and I remember like getting into bed, and it felt like the bed was moving up like 8 to 10 feet in the air. When I was standing still, I was feeling this like really strong up and down pull. Feeling like the ground is uneven, the ground is moving, that it feels like the floor is almost like Minecraft or something where the blocks are like lower or higher. The symptoms were pretty much constant and at a high level. I was terrified, just so at a loss for words, and I really just in a total fight or flight. What the hell is happening?
And I literally felt my brain was being fried on a pan. It was that much heated. Then I had auditory hallucinations, and there was this feeling of intense doom. Anything bad is going to happen to me. I didn't know how to describe it to anyone. Then I felt electricity flowing in my nerves with each breath. I had lightheadedness initially, followed by heavy-headedness and sand feeling in the head. Like if I would move my head, I would feel something, the sand or something in my head which is moving. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. That was unbearable. All I did in the first initial couple of months was lying down, and I had this extreme rocking sensation. Then I had those dizzy spells, those elevated drop. Then my heart rate was increased, going up to 130, 140 baseline. And I felt extreme fatigue. This is what I remember. I'm pretty sure there were many more symptoms.
When I woke up, everything around me was different. I suddenly couldn't focus on things. I couldn't track things. So I was looking back out at that lake and I was thinking, I can't see what I saw literally like an hour ago almost. I started to just feel like I wasn't with it. I couldn't concentrate. And underneath it all was this sense of just, it was like impending doom, impending dread. My whole vision at one point was just black dots. And it literally would be like snow falling. There was no relief from it. It never came and went. I would look around and people would walk past me and I could only see half of their face. And suddenly the corridor's bouncing, shaking, vibrating, and then it tilts, everything starts tilting, and I'm suddenly woozy and holding onto the side. Insomnia kicked in. I just couldn't sleep anymore. Extreme sensitivity to any kind of physical movement. So I'd be trying to lie in bed next to my husband and all he'd have to do was move his toe. And I would be like an electric jolt, your head spinning, trying to sleep, feeling like My body was rocking up and down, swaying side to side. Something inside me was constantly bouncing and tremoring all the time. But no one can tell me what's going on.
That last one, Raya, was actually one of my clients. Okay, so in this treatment model, we start with psychoeducation and explaining to people that the brain creates everything that we see, hear, and feel. And it does this using a combination of predictions made by the brain and the sensory information coming in. The predictions are based on what the brain knows, its inner learnings about the world, and these learnings are based on our experience, both perceptually and also psychologically. These predictions also have an effect on our attention and what we notice in the world. So, for example, if you were walking through a forest full of sticks, you probably wouldn't take much notice of the sticks unless you were told that the forest was full of snakes. And then you would suddenly notice all the sticks and you might make a mistake and think one of them was a snake. They've done studies where they put prism glasses on people where they turn the whole world upside down. And then after a few days, the brain changes its predictions and reverses it so that it feels like everything's the right way up again, which is just insane. So perception isn't simply about receiving sensory information and forming an objective view of the world. And visual illusions show how easily our brain can be misled. So on this picture here, I'm really confused by it being in the air rather than down here, but yeah. On this picture here, square A looks a lot darker than square B. And that is because our brain is predicting this checkered pattern. And it's also predicting that square B is in the shade of the green cone. But if we remove all the contextual cues, you can see the sensory information coming into your eyes is exactly the same for square A and square B. Now this one is exactly the same thing, but I like to show this one as well because you can actually see this one change in real time. So on this one, I don't think you can see my little arrow, can you? But on this one, the top part of the shape looks darker than the bottom part of the shape. But if you cover up the middle information, you can see, so in this bottom right-hand square, you can see the sensory information is the same for the top part of the shape and the bottom part of the shape. And if you take your finger or fingers, depending on how big your screen is, and put it over the middle of the shape, you can actually see the color changing before your eyes. The balance system uses a combination of information. I've got a load of, no, sorry, I'm getting confused because I'm a bit like, the balance system uses its predictions based on memories, beliefs, the environment, expectations, fears, combined with the sensory information coming from the visual system, the proprioceptive system, so muscle position, joint position, pressure on your feet, and the vestibular organs in the inner ear, which tell us about head movements, about gravity. And then it takes all that information and puts it together. And then that information, the combination of the predictions and the sensory information is used to generate the posture, balance, and reflexes. So the brain has a set of expectations. And when the sensory information comes in, it compares the expectations to the information it received, because that's a lot more efficient than analyzing everything coming in from scratch. Dizziness is a danger signal, and it's telling us that the brain's predictions and the sensory information coming in are conflicting with each other. So it's like it's a prediction error. The brain is predicting one thing and the sensory information is saying something else. So we've got this mismatch between the two, and we call that a prediction error. And then the brain doesn't know where the body is in space. And it's a really strong and a really scary danger signal, because evolutionarily, not knowing where the body was in space and not being able to control posture and stability was really dangerous, because it made you vulnerable to predators and potentially unable to get food. Danger signals such as dizziness, tinnitus, and pain are designed to guide our behavior and help us to avoid threats. So say you were running through the forest and you twisted your ankle. So the receptors in your ankle would send information up to your brain saying, oh, this has happened. Then your brain would decide to switch on pain to protect your ankle and stop you keeping running and injuring it further. Okay, so it would protect your ankle and to stop further injury. But if there was a lion chasing after you, your brain would make a really different decision, and actually you wouldn't feel the pain at all. And this has been shown on research on people in war zones, that they don't feel the pain until they are out of danger, till they're in an area where they can safely feel it. They've got to get themselves out of danger first. And also, really interestingly, people in war zones don't need as many painkillers as people back at home, because it means they can go home. So actually there's less danger involved with injury because it's letting them escape the war zone. So to keep us alive, danger signals have to be predictive, because if we only responded to threats as they arose, then we wouldn't live for very long. Prediction is a difficult task, and sometimes the brain's prediction system can go wrong. Our brain's like a detective. It's trying to figure out what's happening in the world and what's happening in our bodies, but it's got limited information. It's got the signals coming from the body, and based on those signals and its beliefs and expectations, it makes a guess about what's happening. Sometimes this is interpreted as injury, danger, threat, but actually that could be inaccurate. So the brain can take the evidence from the body and make it fit the view of injury and danger. All we need is for the brain to perceive a potential injury to generate dizziness. So there's much more evidence on chronic pain than there is on chronic dizziness, of course. And this just illustrates how if your brain believes that your body is in danger, it will give you a danger signal. So in parts of Europe and the US, only 10% of whiplash injuries result in chronic pain. So this is rear end collisions where people get ongoing head and neck pain. So 90% of them are fine. Chronic whiplash syndrome does not exist in Lithuania. So they studied 200 people who'd been in a rear end collision and 2 people who hadn't, and there was no difference in the head and neck pain in the 2 groups. And there wasn't anybody in the rear end collision group that had head and neck pain that they attributed to the rear end collision. And that is because their brains didn't predict that this would happen, because they didn't know that chronic whiplash syndrome was a thing. So it's not in their insurance, they're not aware of it, they don't know it exists, so the brain doesn't predict that it could happen. In Germany, where they do have chronic whiplash syndrome, they did a fake car crash study. So they let the car roll down the hill a little bit, they put glass everywhere, they made crash sounds, and the people thought that they'd been in a rear end collision, but actually there was no impact whatsoever. And yet 3 days later, 20% of them had head and neck pain that they attributed to the crash. And 1 month later, 10% of them still had symptoms, which is the same proportion of people who have them in real life. Those who developed ongoing whiplash symptoms have been predicted with approximately 90% accuracy from their initial psychological profiles. So this shows that when we believe our body is injured, the brain will give us danger signals. And whether or not the brain will decide to do this or not is affected by how we perceive stress. So functional MRI scans. So these are different from structural MRI scans that you hopefully will have had. And these are looking at the blood flow that is involved, what areas of the brain are involved in certain areas, looking at the blood flow and that kind of thing. And these have shown that the threat response is highly activated in people with triple BD, MDDS, and vestibular migraine. The brain believes that the person's in danger, and that makes it go on high alert, looking for danger signals everywhere to try keep you safe. So it's trying to help. And this makes prediction error more likely. And dizziness more likely, essentially. So neural circuit dizziness is generated from a combination of sensation plus fear. It's the fear that fuels it. So when the brain evaluates the body's in danger, the danger signals are activated, we naturally become afraid, and then the brain generates more dizziness in order to protect the body from the perceived threat. By fear, I am including frustration, despair, stress, anguish, anxiety, annoyance, dismay, anything else that reinforces to your brain, this is dangerous, this is a problem, versus this is safe, everything's fine. So we get dizzy. And then we think, oh my gosh, this means that I am not going to be able to go to work today. And even if I do go to work today, then I'm just not going to be on my best form and I won't be able to think straight. And they're all going to think I'm an idiot. And it's not that I'm an idiot. It's just that I'm so dizzy that I can't function and I can't concentrate straight properly. That reinforces to the brain that, first off, we're in danger. And secondly, that these sensations are dangerous. So then we get even more dizziness. So then we get even more worried. Oh my gosh, this means I'm going to be dizzy for the rest of my life. I'm just never going to get through this. In fact, I could even lose my job. This could be the end of my working life career. And actually, I might have to just get a new job where I just have to sit in a hole doing nothing with no screens. And that job doesn't exist. Even more likely to, and I've been here, even more likely to misinterpret safe signals dangerous and more dizziness again. So it becomes this vicious circle. Without the fear, dizziness is just a sensation. And I know that sounds insane to somebody with chronic dizziness, but children spin round and round and round and then stop and go and enjoy dizziness. And the reason that that feels so different from them than it does for us, also like fairground rides, people get off the waltzers, staggering around, unable to walk straight and laughing about it. And the difference is that it's not associated with fear. So it feels a completely different experience because the fear is not there. So how do we respond to dizziness instead? So first off, validate how you're feeling because it's hard. We're not going to pretend it's not. I'm so sorry you're feeling this way in this moment. This is not how you wanted to feel. So bring in that kindness that you would if somebody else was experiencing this. Don't buy into the fear thoughts. So our impulse is to indulge on them, ruminate on them, imagine this whole negative scenario playing out. But try to resist that temptation, and instead of believing it, instead of buying into the fear thoughts, let them go by. Another thing that you can do is generally these thoughts are either fear or frustration. So once you've noticed that this thought is there, kind of stand and watch them go by. Like say you were on a platform watching the trains go by. We're not chasing the trains down the platform. We're not getting on the train. We're letting them go by. And then another step can be, where do I feel this fear in my body? Where do I feel this frustration in my body? I'm going to be with the physical sensations of that. And I'm going to recognize this may not be entirely about dizziness, which can sound a bit strange when I say it just like that. But there will be other factors at play as well. You just have to trust me on that at this point. You can send yourself a message of safety. So that could be a cognitive message of safety. I am physically fit and strong. I am safe. I am not afraid of this sensation. It is a safe sensation. It could also be a physiological message of safety. So that could be something like slow, deep breathing. Now, when we are doing the slow, deep breathing, we are not trying to breathe away dizziness, and we are not trying to breathe away anxiety. What we're doing is we're trying to breathe online more capacity, more resource to be able to observe the sensations of dizziness and possibly anxiety as well through a lens of safety, through a lens of curiosity, rather through a lens of terror and fear, which ramps it up even more. You can become aware of the sensations in your feet. That can be really grounding and stabilizing. And you can move around a little bit slower, not out of fear, but out of self-compassion. Because slowing down by 5 to 10% calms down the nervous system. And then you want to bring in lots of self-compassion. What is the kindest thing that you can do for yourself in this moment? So Alan Gordon talks about the flights analogy, which I really like. So what he says is, if you were scared of flying, so we're treating it like we've got a fear of these sensations. If you were scared of flying and you never got on a flight, you could never get over the fear of flying, could you? If you were scared of flying and you got on the flight and you had a lovely smooth flight and you got off the other end, you'd think flying wasn't as bad as they thought it was. And then getting another flight would feel easier. If you got on the flight and there was turbulence and the oxygen mask dropped down and everybody was screaming, we're all going to die, you would get off that flight even more scared of flying than you were before. So sometimes the kindest thing that you can do for yourself in that moment, if you're feeling really strong and you're feeling empowered in yourself, the kindest thing is to approach the thing that you're avoiding, to expose yourself to these sensations, to approach the dizziness. Because in that moment, it's kind to teach yourself that the sensations are safe. But if you're completely overwhelmed and you're exhausted and you've got chaos going on in your life and you're just feeling like, that's just not going to happen, the kindest thing you can do sometimes can just be going to bed. Because that, we don't want to get the most turbulent flight. So self-compassion all the way. And another situation that I think illustrates this is making dinner. So say you were going to make a lovely fancy dinner. You had this great dinner planned. And then the dizziness gets worse. And then you think, what do I do? So some days, the kindest thing is to have a lie down for 5 minutes or have a rest for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then come back and make the dinner. Sometimes the kindest thing is sandwiches for tea. Sometimes the kindest thing is I'm going to make the dinner, but I'm going to make it really slowly. They can wait. They can handle it if tea's half an hour later. I'm going to play my favorite music. Or a podcast or whatever to make me feel better while I'm doing it. I'm going to do it with loads of gentleness and kindness for myself. And the best option will depend on how you are feeling in that moment. It's going to be different on different days. So there are lots of things that feed into the cycle other than the symptoms themselves. And these are things that make your brain more likely to misinterpret safe signals as dangerous in the first place. We've got everyday life stresses. So everybody has everyday life stresses, but they can add up. As I said before, they're cumulative. Ways of relating to yourself or personality traits. So putting a lot of pressure on yourself, criticizing yourself, perfectionism, and that can show up in different areas of life. So for some people, it'll be at work. For some people, it's with being a good parent. For some people, it'll be cleaning the house. Goodism, wanting to do the good, morally right thing, and people pleasing. So these personality traits can make you a lovely person, They can make you an amazing spouse. They can make you a good friend, a good parent, a great employee. They make some of my clients are incredibly efficient people, very intelligent, but they can also take their toll on you. They add a lot of pressure to the nervous system, and sometimes they can build like this internal simmering resentment that you might not even be consciously aware of. So the other thing to add is that those personality traits make the everyday life stressors even more stressful because they're adding this extra layer of pressure and intensity that a laid back person might deal with in a completely different way. It can be helpful to get awareness of when you're doing these personality traits. And sometimes you're still going to want to do the thing. Sometimes you're still going to put yourself out there and push yourself hard to help somebody else because it feels important. But once you get awareness, you can decide whether you want to do the thing or whether actually on this occasion you want to set a boundary and say no. And saying no can feel uncomfortable to start with. It can feel difficult to start with, but the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And the more you feel your emotions, the more these traits ease off. They soften. They don't go away completely because it's who we are, but they soften. And then again, the everyday life just get a bit easier. Emotions. These are often the emotions that you're not feeling rather than the emotions that you are feeling. So we can learn from a young age that certain emotions are not socially acceptable. We're not allowed to feel anger. We're not allowed to feel sadness. Society doesn't really welcome it, and it can affect our relationship with our caregivers. So we can learn to push them away. And what happens is we push them away, and it works for so long until there's just too much pushed down. The other thing is that every time we push the emotion away, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, we don't even know it's there, the brain thinks that it must be dangerous, because why would we be pushing it away if it wasn't dangerous? So then your brain believes you're in danger and more likely to misinterpret the safe signals as dangerous. Trauma. So that is anything that disrupts your relationship with safety. For some people, the traumas are really, really big. But for some people, they're little things like it that you wouldn't, not abuse or whatever that you would typically associate with trauma, but a school bully or a shouty parent, or something like a bad offset inspection for a teacher. People can have really traumatic responses to that on the inside, because trauma is what happens on the inside, not what happens on the outside. So when we go through a traumatic event, the hippocampus, the part of the brain that timestamps memory, goes offline for the implicit part of the memory. The explicit part is there, so you know the details of the memory, but the implicit part of the memory, the emotional part of the memory, isn't timestamped. And so what that means is that if anything emotionally similar comes up in your day-to-day life, you're dealing with the emotions from then as well as the emotions from now. You're getting like this double whammy, like a PTSD, but instead of visual flashbacks, somatic fear flashbacks or whatever. So it can be helpful to kind of rework those memories, release some of the emotion associated with them so that it isn't impacting us today in the same way. So, strategies for breaking the dizziness cycle. Psychoeducation, so knowing the reason why you have the symptoms can decrease fear and create more positive feelings of empowerment and hope. You can look for evidence that this is a neural circuit symptom. So you can do that by, first off, if there's no structural cause, and that's really good evidence in itself. But then you can look for other things like, oh, well, it's strange how I can walk when I'm playing tennis, but I can't walk when I'm walking down the street. Just like little anomalies. And then you can also look for emotional triggers. And again, thinking what the subconscious could be thinking is an emotional trigger. It might not necessarily be in your conscious brain. Gradual reduction of avoidance and exposure to sensations and situations combined with tools which increase safety. Emotional processing to establish more safety in the nervous system. Creating time for self-care, setting boundaries with others. And increase nervous system flexibility through breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, whatever you particularly like. Increasing physical activity, daylight exposure. But I just want to add that when I say that, I do not mean that we need to be calm all the time. Calm all the time is not the goal. If you're noticing fear in your system, you don't need to immediately calm it away or you'll get symptoms. Just to go back on the emotional processing, so tools that you can use for that include emotional journaling, emotion-focused meditations, and just becoming aware and feeling your emotions as an energy in your body, or you can work with a practitioner on that. Okay, so that's the end. And these are my details if anyone wants to get in touch. And I'll try to work out how to stop sharing.
Pippa, if I can ask you to stop share, that's brilliant. We are going to let you rest for at least 10 minutes. But that was wonderful. I say we'll pick it up in the Q&A session, how important this all is about around the mind and how we can actually help ourselves. But thanks so much for that. The comments have been great in the chat, and you really are helping so many just by sharing that knowledge. So you take a well-earned rest. We're now going to bring in Claire, and I must warn you, Claire has mentioned she's full of cold, so she's going to do her best with it. Claire, if you can unmute, please, and we'll put you in the picture there. That's lovely. Claire is no stranger if you've been to a couple of previous meetings. Audiologist at the Royal Preston, with a real passion for helping our community. And that's why I'm so pleased Claire is sort of helping more and more with the group. Claire, I'm going to let you explain your wonderful survey and how we can all help you. So over to you. Thank you.
Hi guys, again, apologies about my voice. I know some of you are struggling to hear as it is, but I will do my best. So basically last time I came on, we talked about the possibility of me trying to do a survey just to get a feeling for what's lacking and if anything, for what we're doing well. Kevin and I have put that together now. So he's going to send out an email after this meeting with a link. It's a really straightforward survey. Shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to complete. You don't have to fill in every single section, but obviously the more information you can give us, the easier it's going to be for us to work with it. So we'll be sharing the results with this group. And then I've also joined recently, it's called the Northwest Balance Interest Group, and it's an NHS group where there's a representative from each trust. And I'm going to report back to them as well, because they're currently working to try and improve services overall. The other thing I just quickly wanted to mention, probably next session, I'm going to look for maybe 10 or 15 volunteers to just try an app that we're working on. Now, obviously, I'm not going to pick people that didn't. The survey is anonymous, by the way, that's what I meant to say, unless you want to give me your email. But we're trialing an app where we can try and pull all this information we're getting from all these great, support groups of Professor Ray, Pippa, and then when somebody has this problem, they can go to one place and find the help that they need. So that was that. I'll quickly show you the survey if I can remember how to share my screen, because like I said, we don't rehearse these things. There we go. So hopefully you can see that now.
Yeah, we can. That's good.
So very simple explanation of who I am and why I want it. The only sort of coded data is the date and time, because that's how I can differentiate one survey from another. But other than that, really, just tick the boxes. There's boxes to write in, conditions. Like I said, the only bit, sorry about people that don't like spots, that might be a bit much, but try and work through it. And just some text boxes just for general comments at the end. So, like I said, it shouldn't take more than sort of 5 minutes or so, and I would really, really appreciate the help. And another thing I just wanted to ask what I thought on, did anybody go to the session with Antonio? Was that Sue? Okay, I was just wondering if we had any feedback from that at all. Kevin, have you heard
Yeah,
anything
we
back?
are. It was a little bit too early because it was only happening this week. So what we're doing is getting the feedback together ready for the Christmas meeting.
Excellent. Because
When,
as I say,
when
because
they may have some results to share with us as well then.
the professionals meeting hasn't happened yet either, so I was just
Yeah.
wondering if
Yeah.
people had been able to go to it. That's good then.
No,
Okay.
that's right.
So I hope that made sense, and I'm a little bit less stressed than I was last time we were. So I've managed to make full sentences today,
That's
albeit
very,
a bit
very good,
clogged up.
Claire. And just to let everyone know, after the meeting, it may be tomorrow, there'll be an email going out sharing a link to the survey. But it'll be the usual thing where anyone's got any problems or troubles, you just email in and we'll help you work through it. But Claire knows this one from me. One of the biggest problems we face as a balance community is lack of understanding. And I just side mention here, I went to see a new released movie this week, or film, I should say, rather than American movie, Ice Cream, about a guy who's lived through Tourette's. And why mention it? There was a lovely quote in that script where someone was talking to him who had such a troubled life with the problem with Tourette's. And it was said the problem isn't Tourette's, the problem is nobody understands it. And that has a lot of resonance for me with balance conditions. Yes, for us, the problem is balance conditions, but the bigger problem is so few people outside of ourselves understand it. I was just the same till I got Meniere's. I wouldn't even know how to spell it. And I had no idea that balance conditions could stop your life. So my approach here, when Claire has gone to all this trouble to create a survey that's going to feed back to clinicians and help them understand how to do a better job for us, we all need to sort of stand up and respond. Because if we don't do it, why should we expect anyone else to? So wherever you can participate in these things, show, what you think, what is your view, what is your opinion, and maybe, just maybe, we'll start to get more people to understand. The more they understand, the more they are going to help us. So thanks, Claire. We'll see more of you at the Q&A section when we will be moderating the questions. But you go and rest your voice now. More from me. Right, the next section, and apologies, you have to hear me drone on for a few minutes, but I am just going to try and share screen myself with you. This is a reminder for old members and information for new members. Hopefully, yep, you should be able to see that. Member-to-member network. As members of Life on the Level, you can opt in to the M2M network group. I will scroll slowly because I know it's awful for many people to view. But effectively, you opt in. If you opt in, you're going to share your first name, email address, city or town you live nearest to, and we mention your condition. What this is about, it means you can then contact other members directly, first of all via email and or phone if you want to give your phone number, and they can contact you. All I can say is the feedback has just been really, really good, really strong. So many people are forming new friendships and getting to contact people just like them. So I really recommend this. I think we're up to about 150 people on the list. You will hear a little bit more about WhatsApp groups that are coming as well, but I really strongly recommend that. While we're just sharing this, this is all on the website. Just something to share with you, the foundation. This is where we're trying to get products and services at a discount for those who can afford them. For anyone who's officially on a PIP benefit payment, approved benefits from the government, there is an opportunity to get free things. There is the balance belt, which is brilliant for people who've lost all of their balance, but is not a cheap product to buy. And then we've got something a little bit more basic with activated poles, which are really good for giving you confidence of how to walk. So that's just for new members. Do try and spend a bit of time on the website. And the best thing I think we've got on our website is if you look at old meeting recordings. Professor Ray's in August was, as ever, brilliant. So do spend time looking at those. Next thing I want to mention is a member of ours, Kimberly Warner, who lives on the west coast of America, so can't be with us. It's 8-hour time difference. And she gave a wonderful presentation about 4 years ago. She's a film producer, director, and editor. And I'm just going to play a short clip from one of the brilliant videos she put together for Vida. And I'll put in the chat a link to this page and you'll get it in an email after the meeting. But I think it's the most powerful videos I've ever seen about balance conditions. And not only will you see yourself in many of these if you watch this content, but they're brilliant pieces of content to play to your partner, to other people who you want to try and give an understanding of what it is with a balance condition. Hopefully, I am sharing my sound, and I'm going to just play just the first 2 minutes of this. Then I'm going to play a message from Kimberly herself for us today.
I celebrate my life now, although it's a party of one. Me, myself, and I. The dizzy one, the nauseous one, and the one that can't hear. And all the crazy monsters that haunt me and chase me and want me to fail. I invite them to the party too, because I have no choice. They're part of my life also.
Initially, I only wanted to be cured. I didn't want to have to learn to live with this.
At first, it was very uncomfortable in my skin, adapting to my new normal.
My new normal feels a little lonely, to be honest.
At times I feel lonely.
Every hour of every day is really different. I can be happy, I can be angry, I can be sad, I can be lonely, I can be frustrated.
Sometimes it's hard because people will never really understand what you go through.
Try and put a smile, even if it's a fake smile on our faces, to try not be breaking down crying because how scary these symptoms are.
Most people take stillness for granted.
When I found out this was the way I was going to have to live every day, I crapped myself.
If anyone felt the way that I feel all the time, all you would want is to feel stillness. I didn't know it was something I could lose forever.
I used to be panicked and anxious only because I didn't know what to do. Now I know how to subside it, how to treat it, and how to compensate for it.
My new normal.
My new normal.
What my new normal looks like.
It looks like this.
My new normal definitely comes in waves.
Whew. It can be a mixture, if I'm honest, of good and bad, and that can be from almost an hourly basis.
I have times that are really good, where I feel great, and I think I'm gonna feel great forever. I have times where I get knocked back down and things are challenging, whether it's for a couple of hours or a couple of months.
My life is unpredictable, but on the other hand, it's very predictable because each day kind of looks the same.
People's plain view, I look like I'm perfectly healthy. I look like I'm one more of them.
So it looks like what you see now.
Little that they know that inside our heads, we're waging such a difficult war to try and still upright.
I always feel like I'm in motion.
It's dizzy, it's wobbly.
I have to talk to myself and say, it's okay.
Stay calm, don't be so anxious. It's okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to fall, I'm not going to pass out.
It's just always kind of there running in the background.
But I know to expect that. And if I can get anything else done on top of that, then I'm going to consider it a win.
So that's just the first few minutes. I'll put a link to the whole series, but really, really powerful content. Kimberly, who produced that, filmed it, edited it. She does suffer from Mulder-embarkment syndrome, MDDS. She's got something also called cervicogenic vertigo to do with the neck and vestibular migraine. And I must say, before I play it, to be aware, Kimberly's condition, she probably always will live with it, but has even mastered and conquered how to live a good life with it. But remember, many of you watching this isn't your story. My story with Meniere's, I thought, oh, my life was over. How wrong I was. I barely have any symptoms now. If I do, I don't notice them. So many of I just want to reassure you, there are some that will always live with some sort of symptoms, but you will learn to manage it. But many of us will go on to live with no symptoms. So please bear that in mind. Let me see if I can now play Kimberly's message for us today.
Hello, Life on the Level community. My name's Kimberly Warner. Maybe some of you remember me from, gosh, maybe it was 4 years ago that I joined your group for a little sharing. So a lot has happened since then. And Kevin was kind enough to let me slip into your meeting today and share a little bit about where I am. First of all, I just want to let you know I'm with you, just as dizzy as I was 10 years ago, but something is settling. And I know I've spoken about this, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself for some of you, but dizziness has become a strange kind of therapy for me to allow life to be just as it is. And I can't stand it sometimes. I want to feel solid earth under my feet. And within that, I'm learning to lean in and just allow it to be. And my nervous system has finally relaxed with that. There is a peace that can coexist with the movement, and I carry that with me everywhere now. I want you to know that that's possible. And if someone had told me that 10 years ago, I would have wanted to rub their face in the dirt. I know how awful it can be. And I know that for some of us, this is a lifelong experience. So I think the only way for me to finally find this peace was to stop trying to fix it and realize that it is part of me. And my nervous system can adapt. My brain is plastic, and that it can realize finally that I'm not in danger and settle. So I wrote a book. It's called Unfixed, and it's a memoir largely about what I just shared. This goes back further in time. Here, I'll pull it up even more so you can see the cover. It goes back in time to my childhood, my teenage years, a lot of the hypervigilance and fear that I even had early on before the dizziness that I carried in my body, needing to control life, and a lot of grief that intercepted my path through the story of my father that raised me and the story of my paternity, two separate stories. So this is a reckoning, a story of healing, even though I still am dizzy. And it is a deep, deep journey home into my body and the place that I know can truly bring all of us home if we just let it. So it's a kind of a wild ride, very juicy. So if you like juicy memoirs, I would be so honored for you to pick it up. Maybe someday I'll even get to do a tour over in the UK. I'm headed out on my tour in 3 days here in the United States, and my nerves are high and the dizziness is high and life is full. And I'm just riding the waves. So my heart goes with you. I know how this feels, and let's just ride these waves together. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to all of you.
Brilliant. So I say, Kimberly, I've put it in the chat there that it's, as far as I'm aware, the first book written by one of our members. I do hope it won't be the last, because I think some of us are sort of living recovery journeys and stories now, and it gives us so much hope to hear these and share them. And talking of sharing, we're now going to touch upon WhatsApp groups, which hopefully a lot of you will be familiar with WhatsApp, the clever little app for talking to each other. And the first person I'd like to ask to talk is Jean, one of our members. Where are you, Jean? I'm looking for you again. If you need to wave at me. Is Jean there? It's probably my screen. There's so many. Where are you, Jean? Give me another wave. Got you. Lovely. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and if we can, there you go, Jean. If you can tell us all about your WhatsApp group related to Life on the Level, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Kevin said, we have a little WhatsApp group, and it's very small at the moment, only 5 of us. But we're not for people with balance problems, but their partners. So we tend not to discuss balance issues, but how it affects us. And the interesting thing is that if you've got, I don't know, emotional problem because of your partner's balance problems, you haven't got to explain the background to us, because we're all there. We all know how difficult it can be. There's lots, I know not enough, but there's lots of support for the person with the balance problem, but the partner still suffers, and they're just meant to get on with it, perhaps. We're here. You can talk about it. You can share. If you've got something you found worked as a partner, you can tell us, or you can ask. And not only that, you can shout and swear and whatever. We understand. We won't say, oh dear, this person's a bit soft or a bit silly. We're not necessarily awake 24 hours a day, but WhatsApp is there 24 hours a day. So you can post your comment now when you're really feeling it, and someone will pick it up before long and come back to you, if only to say, yes, we understand. Nothing might not be an answer to your problem, but it's someone there to support you. We're only small at the moment. There's only 5 of us. As we get bigger, there'll be more people to support you more of the time. And perhaps eventually it will feel like another little second family that you know you can call on. if you'd like to join us, or your partner would like to join us, just get in touch with Kevin and he'll send you through to us.
Yeah.
And that's really what all I was going to say, unless anybody's got any questions they want to ask.
Any questions, anyone, for...
Oh, sorry, one more thing I was supposed to say. You asked me to say what rules we had. Well, we haven't really got any rules because we're so small. But we do say that what's in the group stays in the group. It's not to go around discussing with everybody else. And at the moment, everybody in the group, their partners, is part of Kevin's group, Life on the Level. If we get bigger and we need more rules, we'll have more rules, we'll discuss them amongst ourselves and agree them. So it's very informal.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, June. You did a lovely job there of explaining that. There's going to be a web page on our site all about WhatsApp groups, and one of the reasons for Jean to be on them, you're going to be Gaynor in a moment with the triple PD group. I'm appealing to others out there with other conditions or other interest groups, if they would consider starting their own little WhatsApp group as well. So I definitely qualify and would love to join a Meniers WhatsApp group. So I think it's a lovely thing to do. Gaynor, just before we come to you, I just noticed someone in the audience I just wanted to mention, and hopefully not embarrassing. Steve Watkins, where are you? Let's find, where's Steve? I'm sure I saw you earlier. And apologies, I've got, there we go. Steve, let me, apologies for interrupting your leisurely viewing there. If I could just ask you to unmute. The reason I'm going to Steve, hopefully many of you saw this. Steve managed to get a brilliant article about his own story, and with a lot of content from Professor Ray into the Mail Online 2 weeks ago, I think it was now, Steve. So how was that experience for you? That's what I was just interested in. What was it like sharing your story with the nation?
Yeah, it actually was a privilege, and I was really pleased with the outcome of the article, and the way it came about was I was fortunate that my story was picked up from originally an initial article that I had, because I purchased a trike to help me to get around, and so it sort of went from there, really. But I was really pleased. It was difficult, but I found it really helpful, because I do struggle to verbalize how I feel. So it was. I'm still going through, the process that I'm sure so many people are part of this group, where you're up and down with your emotions and the feelings that brings, and dealing with accepting where you're at, and your new normal that we hear spoken about. It's been part of my journey now, and it's getting a little bit easier to accept, and so that it definitely has helped me, and the people that surround me as well, that friends that I've kind of not necessarily opened up to about it, because I found that I was trying to live as normal as possible without telling people too much about it. So it's helped.
No, it's lovely. And well, thank you on behalf of all of us. There are. I saw a mention there from Susan. There is quite a few people here today as a result of your article. So, and that's just the sort of awareness we need to build and get out there. Almost from a selfish perspective of the group, we can't help people unless we can reach them. And so many people don't think to Google search support group for balance conditions, because it's not that well known. So it was brilliant awareness, Steve. Thanks very much for that. And as I mentioned previously, Steve, he might have found himself a new job, unpaid head of PR for Life on the Level. But we'll talk about that later, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Gaynor, where is Gaynor? And I do apologise. There's so many
am here.
faces here.
I'm
Uh,
here.
I've got
Can
to
you hear me
find.
okay?
I have to find you on my screen so I can bring you up large for the recording, Gaynor. And I've lost you again. Oh, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I'll be at the end.
I've
Cause no
got you.
trouble.
I've got you. I've found you. Right, Gaynor, please go ahead. Tell us all about your WhatsApp group.
Yeah, well, I've not long joined Life on the Level, and I got the member to member page through. So I thought I would be smart, and rather than contacting a couple of people, I'd contact quite a lot of people with PPPD. So if anyone wasn't in contact with that, it wasn't by design. I didn't mean to create a group. It just happened. So we started talking, and then we created a WhatsApp group, and we've also now decided that we're going to have monthly Zoom meetings as well. So that'll be alternative. So in between, so there'll be Life on the Level Zoom meeting, and then we'll have ours the alternative months just to talk about things. Again, Pippa, talk was great, absolutely. It means lots to unpack there, so potentially that's something that we might talk about on our next meeting. So again, all still sort of to play for. We're all just sort of pulling it all together. But if anyone wants to get involved, please do and let us know. So again, you can let us know through Kevin. And we do have some guidelines that we've come up with for our group. So nothing, terribly strict. So again, but you do have to either have or be suspected of having PPPD, and that can be either on its own or with what we call a blend with vestibular migraine or another condition. And you need to be a member of Life on the Level before joining the subgroup and adhere to the guidelines that are in there. We're really keen. The group is really positive and supportive, and we have empathy for people, and we want to be inclusive of everybody. So we're aware that some people don't want to use WhatsApp, or they're not in a position, maybe don't feel well enough to be able to talk. You're more than welcome to lurk in the WhatsApp group, or if you prefer by email. A couple of people prefer to do email, so we can work with you as far as is reasonably practical. Also, that we also any conditions that we mention, any treatments that we've maybe had, we're not clinicians. We're just discussing them within the group. So you should get sort of guidance from your own clinician or GP. And that really is about it. We're kind of in our infancy. We've not even decided on a name for ourselves yet. So I was disqualified from giving any name because it was so bad, but other people have come up with some other suggestions. So if anyone wants to join the group or has any great suggestions on the name, we'll certainly be going to be taking a vote in the next few days on that. So please get involved, get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaynor. That's lovely. Hopefully what's coming through to everyone here today and anyone who watches the recording of this later, talking is good. Communication, sharing. I'll let you into a little secret. I was a complete idiot when I had many heirs. It was some 20 years ago. Not that that's an excuse. Typical man. Steve touched upon this. I tried to keep it a secret from everyone. I saw it as an admission of failure, that how could I be ill? I can't admit this to anyone. I ran my own business and hid it from my employees. I was so wrong. All I did was delay my recovery by years by trying to hold that in. And I know some people to this day, they fear talking about it, but all I can say is don't. And especially start within the group. You're with people who completely understand what you're going through. So they're the best people to practice talking to. And it is so difficult. There are the complications of talking to employers because of potential discrimination. But new members know we've got one of our members, Tracy Hudson, is an expert on HR and gives free help and advice if ever you're fearful of bad things happening at work. But I just implore you all, think about sharing, talking more, and remember everyone around you hasn't got the power of telepathy. So you may know how bad things are, they don't necessarily, because all they see is you looking well. So try, and nobody means do this every day, as Pippa said earlier about things. We're not talking about doing this to an extreme degree, but every once in a while think, have you explained to your loved ones, your friends, your family, what you're going through, how best maybe they can help you as well, because nobody can guess this. It's such a difficult condition for us to live with and those around us to understand how to help best. So you'll be pleased to know that's enough from me. We're going into the Q&A session now with Pippa. And I'm going to rope Claire in as well to moderate on any questions. The way this works, we've got at least one person that's put a question in the chat, so I'm going to go to them first. And then we are going to monitor the chat if people type anything in there, or just simply ask you to raise your hand. And there is a way to raise a hand on Zoom, or you can physically raise your hand, and we'll go around to sort of get your questions. So I'm just going to bring Pippa and Claire into my video picture for the recording. Then Pippa, hopefully you're rested. Thanks again for a wonderful presentation. To some of the comments we've seen there about the best way they've seen a description of what it is to live with these symptoms and the fears and the anxieties. And part of that, I think for us, it's so wonderful to have people who help us put a voice, put a description to what we're going through. Because it's so difficult when you're feeling it, but you can't even describe it to other people. So thanks so much for doing that. Let me just go to the first person now. Dina, are you there? There we go. I'm just going to bring you in, Dina, and you are unmuted. So Dina, please put your question to Pippa.
Thank you so much, Pippa, for your great presentation. I've been following your work and the work of Dr. Yonit Arthur and everybody at the Study Coach for several months now. And I think the work you are doing in the neural circuit dizziness is simply extraordinary, and the recovery stories speak for themselves. As someone who, over the past 4 months, is embracing CBT, mindfulness, and self-compassion, walking, parasympathetic breathing, and I so much want to do this recovery process on the most holistic basis, I wanted to ask you, would you believe actually that someone can recover by adopting the Steady Coach approach without taking SSRI or SNRI medications? Thank you.
100%, 100%. So the thing you missed out there was emotional work. So just be aware of that. That is key in whatever form you want to do it. But absolutely, people can recover without SSRIs. Some people like to have them and some people don't like to have them. So some people, and obviously this is out of my scope of practice. I am not a doctor, so just to put that out there. But a lot of people recover without them. Some people like to use them with our methods. SSRIs do numb emotions. So they do push emotions down. So actually they can hinder in progress. Professor Ray said quite clearly on his talk as well that when he uses them, they're not long-term fix, and he takes people off them after 6 months. If people do go on SSRIs, we strongly recommend they have an exit plan because of getting withdrawals when you come off. Some people as well, if you don't want to go on SSRIs and you push yourself to go on SSRIs, sometimes because of a person has told you you're not trying to get well if you don't do it, you can end up with the nocebo effect. It can make things worse rather than better because it's bringing danger into the system rather than safety into the system. If you're somebody who's very negative about medication in the first place and then you're forcing yourself to take medication even though you don't really want to, is less of a message of safety than somebody who's really keen on medications and who really wants medications. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tina. Right, I can't see any. Can you see any of the questions?
Yeah, there's one in the group from Mary, and she wants to know if your approach would be suitable for somebody with bilateral vestibular hyperfunction. Obviously, it wasn't one of the ones you'd sort of.
So it depends on the degree of it, because obviously it's at different levels. If somebody's got severe vestibular hyperfunction, then they want to be looking at something like the balance belt or those poles that Kevin mentioned. But what I would do is look for evidence, because vestibular hyperfunction is a constant state. And obviously people with triple PD can have like constant states for years as well. But if you've got that diagnosis and you're noticing, actually, though, some days I feel like I can handle this, and some days I feel like I really can't, then that implies that there could be a neural circuit element in there as well. And what I would do is really look into what the symptoms of vestibular hyperfunction and what could potentially be an element of triple PD on top of that.
Okay, thank you. Another one, I'm not sure who it's off, but I know they'll know who they are when I mention the word pickleball. So somebody has started playing pickleball and they get spins, but if they keep moving, they can continue, but then they feel sick and dizzy when they stop. Is there anything you can recommend, as they're worried they'll start fearing pickleball? I'm intrigued by pickleball generally, but
Can I see them? Or do they not want to be seen? Fine.
I don't know who it is, but I guess it's
That's evidence. First off, that's really good evidence that it's neural circuit, because it's not happening during the thing. It's not a structural thing. It's just happening afterwards. So your brain could be associating pickleball with danger. It's like a conditioned response. After I play pickleball, I feel rough. Combined with obviously potentially being a bit tired, probably everybody needs a bit of a rest after pickleball. Conditioned responses can be really strong initially. So I'm sure you probably heard of the Pavlov's dogs. So he rang the bell when he gave them the food, and then when he rang the bell but there was no food, the dog still salivated. So it's a physiological, unconscious response. The dogs weren't thinking, oh, I'll drool now. And so your brain does this by itself, but it can be unlearned. So first off, maybe if you wanted to, you could start with playing pickleball for a shorter amount of time to gradually teach your brain that it's safe. That's one option, so that you're not freaking your brain out, like in small increments. Another option is just to accept it. Just like, yeah, I'm feeling sick now. I'm going to accept feeling sick now. This isn't my reality forever. This is my reality for now. But over time, I'm going to unlearn this. This is temporary and I'm safe, and I'm just allowing myself a bit of a rest, like you would if you had too many drinks and you had a hangover. Just reassuring yourself this is temporary and it's okay. And these messages of safety, and my brain believes that pickleball is dangerous. I know it's not. Bringing that in and just accepting that that's what it is today, but that it's not going to be that forever. Also be aware of who you're playing pickleball with. Are there any emotions involved in that? Are there any social pressures involved before and after? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It is so difficult, isn't it, Pippa? I know. I just remember my Meniere's, I went down with it 21 years ago, but many years since I've lived a brilliant life. I've mentioned this before to you. I feel my life's actually enriched by going through that and coming out the other side, but I still wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But it was funny, I got a very mild outer ear infection the other day, and I was just struck by my Meniere's scarred brain when, oh my God, that's an infection on my good side. Could that possibly trigger Meniere's? And it was completely irrational. it was very easy to dismiss. But then the little voice now and again pops up and he goes, "Are you sure? You sure?" It's amazing how even myself, after all these years running the group, knowing everything, hearing such as yourself, the mind is just ready to just sow that little seed of doubt. And the problem is, we have a balance condition, but then we can have lots of other normal ailments and experiences in life. But once I've got that serious balance condition, my brain always wanted to link everything had to be to do with Meniere's, and it's so difficult to unravel it all. But you're quite right. To me, it's like learning to ride a bike is the same thing of learning that almost like mind therapy, the mind control. And am I right in saying, like, it's just none of us intuitively know how to do that. And that's why we need people such as yourself to be our guides. Is that a too simplistic way to put it?
I think some people can recover by themselves using tools like, which I haven't mentioned, the Steady Coach free course. I think some people, but they need to know the tools. You need the psychoeducation, you need the knowledge in the first place. But I do think that some people can, well, I know lots of people recover purely from the Steady Coach free course. So not everybody needs a practitioner. So yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I get. I'm not sort of saying everyone's got to sign up with you tomorrow. As you say, it's down to people. But the whole point of the support group is to
The
speed up
support
the
group's
journey.
lovely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and not being alone in something
Yeah.
makes it
But it
a
was, I
completely
think,
different experience.
yeah, it was just my personal issue. I realized how many years I wasted of my life in that wilderness through being just pig-headed, stubborn, and stupid. And that's why I wanted to get the support group going, to speed up recovery. And if you like, let's not waste a day on suffering and being in a bad place if we don't need to. So the sooner we get to that better place, the better. And that's why, to all you members out there and anyone watching the video, that's where such as Pippa can help accelerate. Now, of course, there's always the issue of affordability for private help. But as Pippa said, there is free resources available. And just watching back a recording of this meeting, there's so much you can pick up from what Pippa said anyway.
Sorry,
But
following on, it seems a good
Yeah,
time to link in. Janet and Susan actually live in your area, and they're wondering, can they get referred to you on the NHS?
But
I
it
presume
has,
it's on the
at the
NHS anyway.
moment, our department only accepts ENT referrals. So they absolutely can, but it may take them a year to see ear, nose, and throat, is the problem.
Okay. So can I throw it out to the audience? Let me switch kind of it. Can anyone with a question raise your hand or use the Zoom hand? There's got to be questions out there. And there's no such thing as a dumb question, because if you're thinking it, hundreds others are as well. So anyone want to put a, there we go, Gaynor, let's get you in. Gaynor, go ahead, please.
I think I'm using every single emoji on there. I've not used them for a while. I think I had a question around about MDDS. I've only recently heard about that. Can you maybe just say a few words about that? And is there a link to PPPD? Because I
see them as exactly the same thing, so don't worry about which you've got.
Okay.
So different doctors would diagnose exactly the same person with different disorders. Some would say MDDS, some would say triple BD, some would say vestibular migraine. But it doesn't matter which one of those labels you get, because essentially it's the same thing.
Okay.
That makes sense. MDDS tends to be like the criteria would be it's one of those people who just feel like they're moving all the time when they're sitting still. If they get in the car, it might ease a little bit. It might be a little bit better. But, you know, feeling like you're moving when you're still is also a triple BD criteria. So I wouldn't worry about that. I would, yeah, they're the same thing.
Thanks, Gaynor.
It just
Thank
depends
you
on your
very much.
doctor.
Thank you.
We've got Nicola has got, apologies, it's my finding the gallery view again. Nicola, I'm going to bring you in. If you can ask your question, please.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
And you're creeping off the screen to the side somewhat, but we can, there we go.
That's better.
Come back, that's it. Thanks, Nicola.
I understand if you can't answer this question. I have had triple PD for 8 years, and 8 weeks ago I got a virus. Not quite sure. I've been through ENT and MRIs and everything, blood tests, everything's come back okay. So they just think it's a virus. But a couple of weeks after that, I then got COVID on top of it. And it's left me, I did have mild tinnitus for 8 years in my right eye, but it's now left me with screaming tinnitus in both ears, which is causing chronic anxiety because I can't sleep. And I'm using white noise and trying to listen to therapy, and I've even had to have some sleeping tablets to try and help sleep. But I don't know if there's anything, or if I come to you privately, that could help, because I'm really, really struggling.
I'm so sorry. I mean, I can see that on your face.
At the moment, it's
I'm
just
really
becoming unlivable, really.
Okay, so tinnitus is also a neural circuit, and you can 100% recover from tinnitus as well.
But even when it's screaming so loud in both ears.
It probably, are we allowed to go to this emotion that's coming up right now, or is this not allowed on this group? I don't know, but I can really hear it in your voice. Just slow down and let it be in your body, because it's a lot. So
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cause any distress on the group, but I just needed to see whether I could come to you privately, or
Of course you can. Of course you can. Just email
just
me.
to try and...
Just email me. So with the sleep, so first off, there's the psychoeducation. With the white noise, you can play the white noise, you can play nature sounds, you can play whatever you want, but you're doing it to help you relax. You're not doing it to get rid of tinnitus, because tinnitus is a safe sound. You've got to teach your brain tinnitus is a safe sound, like any other sound, like the music, like the white noise, essentially. But the reason why tinnitus doesn't sound like the white noise, the reason why it sounds like this screeching, is because it's associated with danger, and that's why it sounds like a fire alarm rather than the white noise. So you need to teach your brain that this is a safe sound, but also you need to teach your brain that you are safe in the world. Those are the two things that you need to do. Okay, so if the sound helps you, then use that, but frame it as, I'm playing this sound to help me relax. I'm not playing this to get rid of tinnitus, because tinnitus sound is safe. You could try a yoga nidra, so that then, non-sleep deep rest. So then even if you're not asleep, you're still getting deep rest. And there are loads of those. They're on Insight Timer, they're on YouTube, they're everywhere. But they can be really helpful. You can do them during the day as well. If you're exhausted, give yourself permission to have a nap if you need one. And notice the fear thought spiral that I mentioned with the dizziness one, and with sleep as well. Like the, oh my gosh, I can't sleep. This means that I'm going to be awake all night. This means that I'm not going to be able to function tomorrow. This means that I'm not going to be able to do this, that, and the other. And I'm just going to be completely offline, and everybody's going to think I'm a lunatic, but it's not, because I just can't sleep. Do you know what I mean? I'm just so emotional right now. I'm just so, can't think straight, complete and utter brain fog. Just let go of that story. Come back into your body. Where is that anxiety in your body? Is it there right now?
Yeah, it's there constantly. I can't
there
breathe.
Constantly. Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to breathe from my stomach.
Just slow down and just let that be there. We don't need to change it. We don't need to get rid of it right now. I just want you to witness it and recognize you are not the anxiety. You are the one who's watching it. And just view that anxiety as an object in the container that is in your body, that is your body. So you can view your body as this glass container, and in it you've got this anxiety and this can't breathe. And we're just going to witness that, knowing you're not it. You're the one who's observing it. You need to get rid of it right now. Just watch it with curiosity and ease, like you are watching the clouds in the sky. And when we watch the clouds in the sky, we don't care if they're a dinosaur or a bunny rabbit, we're just watching. So whatever these sensations do is okay. If the anxiety gets strong, if these sensations in your body get stronger, that's okay. We're not them. We're just going to watch. The glass container has great capacity to tolerate the most vicious of emotions and the most terrifying of thoughts, as long as you recognize that you are not the sensations. And when the thoughts come in, just watch them go by and back to the body. And witness the sensations in your body, knowing that you are safe in this moment. You are safe right now. Like watching the snow in a snow dome when it's really shaken up. And we don't need to push the snow down. We can just watch it until it settles, and it doesn't matter how long that takes. It'll do it when it's ready, when it's been heard. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling a little bit calmer in my breathing.
Yeah. Just notice that.
Good. Pippa, is there anything Nicola could view immediately after the meeting? Are there any links we could share with her? Anything at all that?
We are in the process of creating a free course for tinnitus and hyperacusis, and that should be available soon, but it isn't available right now. I've done a somatic tracking exercise for tinnitus, which is on the Steady Coach YouTube channel, but I wouldn't suggest doing that.
Okay, I mean, anything.
How Nicola is right now, and you need to be fully on top of the psychoeducation before doing that.
Yeah, anything you think of link-wise, I can pass it through to Nicola after the meeting as well. But honestly,
So
Nicola,
if she signs up to the Steady Coach mailing list, then that will come out when the free course is available.
okay. Yeah, we're all there for it, and a lot of us have been through. I didn't believe I was going to get through my tinnitus. I can't hear it now. It's there, but I don't hear it. That's how the brain can change.
I had it for 8 years when I got PPPD, just
Yeah.
low level, and I learned to ignore it. But this is just on a completely different scale.
Yeah.
It's health fears and it's screaming and
Yeah. No, it's as Pippa said, it's so difficult, but it's trying to remove the fear is so hard, isn't it? When everything is screaming fear and anxiety. But honest, Pippa,
Well,
if you
you're
think,
accepting it for this moment, but you're not accepting it for life.
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, good. Thanks, Nicola, for
Thank you.
sharing that. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't want to bring any distress.
No, honestly, this is what we're here for.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if
Next
Nicola,
one.
if Nicola's been able to see, there's been lots of supportive comments in the chat as well for you. Lots of people sending their love.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just going to go to Sarah Jane has got her hand up. No camera.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, go ahead, please, Sarah Jane.
Hi. Yes, I've probably got quite an unusual question. Really appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you very much. I've seen Peter Ray recently. Quite disappointed, unfortunately, because when I first saw him, he thought that he was going to be able to nail down a diagnosis and treat it, and he was really confident in our first meeting that it wasn't triple PD, it was something else. And I had all the sorts of tests done, all the rest of it, and unfortunately. I say unfortunately because I want to find a smoking gun. We couldn't find anything in particular to treat. So it's back to vestibular migraine, triple PD, antidepressants, vestibular physiotherapy, all stuff that's not going to work quickly. You know, I was looking for the miracle cure, still am. I went to see my GP, and my GP, instead of prescribing me the antidepressants, actually suggested I try something called acetazolamide. I'm not sure if any of you have ever tried that. It's a medication that's used for Meniere's, episodic ataxia, and rare vestibular disorders. That's what it says on the patient information leaflet. So I've been on it for a couple of weeks now, and it has massively helped with my symptoms. It's kind of like a diuretic, which I'm not particularly happy with. It makes your body dump a lot of potassium, and helps to kind of balance some of the inner ear liquid. So I'm giving that a whirl. It was you know, if anybody has any experience of it and you could contact me, I'd really love to hear from people, or if they've got time to mention it now. So wanted to share that because that seems quite interesting. It hasn't taken it away. Like, I watched my son on a swing this morning for 10 minutes and I've just felt sick ever since. That's why I was so late joining the call, because I can't watch him on a swing. I'm literally like, I'm being tipped upside down and God knows what, and I'm not. So my latest desperate attempt is, I've read about this thing called plasma washing in a clinic in Germany.
I don't know what that is. I think you're
You do,
asking the wrong person that type of
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's something that's only recently kind of come about. But I know of a couple of people. I don't know them personally. They're quite famous people, but they have spoken about their problems with Meniere's disease and how much it was ruining their lives. And then they'd gone and had this plasma washing. And they just said it was like a complete miracle cure. So again, I was just curious if anybody had any experience of that, any information, or yeah, anything at all about it. I'm all ears, because I am still looking for that one miracle cure. I want to go to sleep, have something done, wake up, and it be gone.
And here's so much frustration in your
Yeah.
voice, Sarah Jane.
Oh my
So
God,
what I
honestly.
would
Yeah.
do is look for that frustration in your body.
Yeah.
It will have an energy with it out of your head into your body.
Yeah.
Lean into that frustration
Yeah.
and allow that.
Very good.
Yeah, we all get it though, just to say, like,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
we've been there with the frustration.
Yeah, it's deeply frustrating. Yeah, and it is for everybody else. So I'm not saying, poor me compared to other people, but this is completely ruining my quality of life. I can't work. I can't look after my son on my own, because he's only nearly 3. And when these bouts of it come on, I'm really incapacitated. I can't be in charge of a toddler. And it really is ruining my life. We can't make plans. We can't do anything because I'm just, and I then
And I would
fall into that
consider
anxiety cycle. Go on, sorry.
yeah, just look at the Study Coach free course. Just have a look at that.
Okay, well, thank you
It's
very much. Yeah.
completely free.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And have a look at the recovery stories as well, because those diagnoses you mentioned,
Yeah.
100% covered by that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will. Thank you very much for that.
Sarah Jane, just before you go there, just imagine anyone who has picked up on what you've been saying, knows anything. Normal format there is just they can email to me.
Great.
And
Yeah.
I'll pass everything on.
That's fine. Yes. Yeah.
And then one last thing I have to mention. I've worked with Vida in America for 6 years now, trying to help them raise money. And America, it's far more prominent. Sometimes people promote or market cures, and it's very much about them making money.
Yeah, I've spent a fortune buying all sorts of crazy things,
I was going to say,
which haven't helped. But the chap who's mentioned this is somebody who's very, very high up in the sports world.
It's one of those where I always say, someone like Professor Ray, he would love it if there was a miracle cure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because he doesn't want the backlog of patients he's got who can't see for a year. And he would be the first to come and announce to the group, great news, miracle cure. One jab, you fixed. Honestly, he's got no interest in
Oh
having.
no, 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 no. I agree. I agree. It's just
But,
it's
but
it, it's a it's go on, sorry.
it's just be aware these people, some of them play upon our desperation.
Oh,
And I've
absolutely.
been there, so I would have sawn off both arms to get fixed at one stage. I even took something called a gentamicin jab, which I risked losing all my hearing
Yeah.
because I was so desperate to be free of
Yeah.
vertigo attacks.
Yeah.
So we, I literally, I still would sell my mother,
Yes.
gladly,
Yeah.
but it just, we get there, and some people will prey on that. And I'd always say, look at everything. And then one day there will be a miracle cure, but let's see clinical proven evidence before we part with any money
Yeah.
or begin to believe it. And unless it's a qualified balance expert telling me it works, I'm really hard to convince otherwise. But
Yeah.
thanks for bringing it up. And honestly, you're not alone. What you're going through. The other bit I say to everyone, even though it's hard to believe, think of your past life. It's never remained fixed in a place. It always evolves. We always move on. Even though we're going through a really bad period now, it won't last. You are going to get to a better place, whether that's changing symptoms or the way you manage the symptoms or the way you cope with them. It won't stay forever. It doesn't help today. It's with you today, but kind of knowing it's not going to be forever, it does reassure us a little bit. But
Yeah.
thanks again for your question. Really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sally, if we can bring you
everybody.
in. Hi, go ahead, please.
First of all, I just wanted to say to Nicola, I'm totally with you with the tinnitus. My ears scream some days. It's normally when I'm stressed and I haven't had enough sleep. And it's up and down a lot, so it will mellow. But I just wanted you to know that you're definitely not alone on that one. And it really can be so annoying, but it will subside. Yeah. And I had a question for Philippa, please. I listen to a lot of the Steady Coach. I have done for a couple of years now. And there seems to be a lot of talk about, like, you just need to be zen, you need to be chill, you need to.
No, that's not what she's saying.
I was kind of going to refer back to it. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I listened to a lady's recovery story, and she basically gave up work and meditated for 3 hours a day for a year before she started to get better. So my friends are talking about going on a little retreat for a couple of days. We'd have to save up for it. Don't have a lot of money, but everybody struggles. And I'm a bit nervous about going. I think it would be a good idea, but then automatically I'm thinking, what if I have an episode? What if I spin out? What if my legs go to jelly? And all this sort of thing. So I'm not sure whether the anxiety is outweighing the results of going.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do is journal about all your emotions about going that have nothing to do with dizziness. So it might be part of me scared of the travel, part of me scared of driving, part of me scared of, I don't know where it is, part of me scared of the social side. Part of me scared of saying the wrong thing and them judging me and them thinking this, that, and the other. Part of me feels angry, it's so far away. Do you know what I mean? Working through the associated emotions that are not related to dizziness. And then at the end of that, you can make a plan once you're feeling in this calmer space and decide, do you want to do it? I mean, part of you might be angry about the cost, whatever. And part of you might be sad that this is so hard for you.
Yeah, I think it's more sadness. You know,
Now,
like
anger,
a retreat with your girlfriend sounds great.
But always look for anger because it's the one we push down. And the biggest key to my recovery was finding my anger. And that does not mean screaming and shouting at people in real life. So when we've got anger, we've got 4 options. We can push it down and make ourselves ill. We can scream and shout at the world, and that is not good. That has really bad consequences. We can put it on the wrong target, like the kick the dog phenomenon. Or we can express it and feel it in a healthy way so that it doesn't hurt us and it doesn't hurt other people. So when you're doing your emotional journaling, always check for anger. Just anything that your inner 5-year-old who will have a tantrum if you give them a pink cup instead of a blue cup would be angry about. And then decide on balance what the kindest thing for you is. Whether the kindest thing for you is to go and to, like Kevin said, let them know, there may be times where I need some time out and space.
Yeah.
And plan how you're going to handle it. And then write a few things you're grateful for. I mean, grateful to have friends that want to go with you and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
great.
do it in
Thank
that order.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions from anyone? Can we see anything, Claire? Has anyone hands up? Last chance. Last chat. No more questions. Okay. So
Can I just say something before you close
yeah,
up?
go. Oh, and we've got someone raised a question. Let's just let Janine in first, and then we'll go to you, Claire. So go ahead,
Hi.
please, Janine.
If I can ask a question, then I will use the opportunity. Hi, my name is Janine. I've got a lot of diagnoses, and one of them was triple PD. I had a lot of questions because I have spinning vertigo. And then I put some GP forces in who pushed me to an otoneurologist, which is an ENT, something like that. And he diagnosed with 5 pathological findings, vestibular neuritis. So my question is, do I then have triple PD because I don't feel that I'm anxious? I just see the symptoms and I'm trying to handle them in a way that I can achieve more and more every time I progress. And I'm just questioning this triple PD diagnosis.
So vestibular neuritis is when there's a problem on one ear, so irritation of the nerve or whatever on one side. The typical progression of that is you get your vestibular neuritis, you have horrible spinning vertigo, you feel utterly, utterly horrific. And then you do your vestibular rehabilitation exercises, ideally, if you see ENT quick enough, Claire can in here. And then you recover. Okay. Now, if it is going on way past the amount of time that we would assume that it takes for your brain to compensate, so usually about 3 months, maximum 6 months. If you're going on past that time and and your brain hasn't compensated, then at that point you have to question, why has my brain not compensated? And also at that point, it turns into triple PD. So the diagnosis is then different once you get past that initial stage where your brain should have compensated. I did not think I was anxious. I was not aware of any anxiety at all when I was dizzy. I did not think I was stressed. I thought I was at the best time of my life. I had just got engaged. I had just got a new job at a level I wanted. So just to be aware that there may be stress going on subconsciously.
I do
you're
understand
not
that.
aware of. Yeah.
I do have a brain lesion, so that is very visible. And I
Brain
had
lesion is the
yes.
different. Brain lesion is very different from vestibular neuritis. That's a different thing.
But my question is, do I then have triple PD if you have pathological findings?
I mean, it depends what they are.
Okay. Then I need to
what do you
talk to
mean?
my
What
GP.
a brain lesion is quite a general term. So what do you mean by a brain lesion? Do you know what I mean? Because that's a different thing from vestibular neuritis.
Yes, but it has the pathological findings of a vestibular neuritis because they have the so-called brainstem hearing, which is not okay. the vestibular organ, which is not okay on one side. The hearing is
Yeah.
not okay.
So they
And
said,
when I got these findings, I was just questioning with this triple PD because I found some online resources who had a checklist. And I always do not pass the checklist for triple PD, though my doctors say it's triple PD. So I was just questioning what kind of therapies can I really use, because there are so many and I do a lot. And I'm just trying to focus on what is the right thing. And I have a little bit this feeling, this anxiety. I understand that, but I have problems with my eyes that are not working quite well. So that doesn't have anything to do with anxiety. That
No,
because
but I can hear a hell of a lot of frustration.
yes,
And I
because
don't blame you. 100%, I do not blame you. And frustration was my main reaction to my symptoms. And I can't comment on the brain lesion, and I can't give you, I haven't seen your medical records. Vestibular neuritis can turn to triple PD, can 100% recover, even though there's damage to the ear. Brain lesions, I'm not going to comment on. I don't know what that means in your particular case. But bear in mind, frustration is not a message of safety. So look for other targets for it. What else could you be frustrated with? We know that you're frustrated with the symptoms. We get that you're frustrated with the symptoms. They are infuriating, but every time you're feeding that story, if there's a triple PD element, you're feeding the triple PD.
that's very nice of you, because I will put that to the GPs who was always wrong in diagnosing me, because I'm running around for a year.
Right.
So
now,
I take that with me.
express the anger to the GPs as well, It's infuriating.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you
Write
very
out
much.
the anger to the GPs.
Janine, I don't know if it works where you live, but over in the UK, it's always about trying to get another opinion as well.
I mean, I don't know if Claire wants to step in as well as an audiologist.
Yeah, but always don't hesitate to get other opinions if you're not quite sure
Yeah.
you're getting the right.
I mean-
It's so difficult. Go ahead, Claire.
I just say, if it's brain lesion, like I say, it depends which bit of your brain it's on. If you've got an acoustic neuroma that is on the acoustic nerve, or that, you know what I mean, Pippa?
So it's number 8. I know that already.
Okay, so then that will give you symptoms, and they usually will monitor that with hearing tests and changes to, your balance over the years, and they will monitor that. Now, whether you could say it's triple PD, I mean, the first P is that it's persistent, it's ongoing, but we know the cause
Yes.
of yours. So
Yes.
I don't understand with that, Pippa. That's a bit,
So with a vestibular neuroma, I guess it would depend on how stable it is. If it is a vestibular, if by lesion you mean vestibular, which it sounds like maybe it is, it would depend on how stable it is. I've had a patient who had dizziness and tinnitus and had a meningioma that was causing the symptoms, and she stopped all the symptoms. If it's that you've got an acoustic neuroma and it's staying still and it's not doing anything, then your brain can compensate for that. But if it's changing all the time, then it's new information, and then there's more of a structural element. So that depends. Yeah.
All right, good. We've got to move on.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Janine.
Thank you very much.
That
thanks
is,
for the question.
if we're talking acoustic neuroma, then I'm really sorry. That's a really, really hard place to be.
We've got to be quick now, because a lot of people are crossing their legs. It's it's so late. We've got Mary with a question, so I'm just going to bring Mary in. Go ahead, please, Mary.
Yeah, hi, sorry to keep everybody. I'm not sure if it's quite a place to ask it. A year last July, I got very completely out of the blue a vertigo attack that lasted 3 days. I was in hospital with it, and they weren't sure what it was, but in the end they diagnosed that I had a mild stroke. I then self-referred to a physiotherapist, and they told me that after one meeting that I had vestibular hypofunction. Now, I'm not quite sure what the difference is between what exactly vestibular hypofunction is. Somebody kindly answered here that's where there's been some nerve damage. And secondly, can I recover from this? Because I have got better, because I've never had the same vertigo attack that I had when I first got it. I just had about a year ago a couple of little ones, but nothing like it at all. But I do have this permanent unsteadiness, you know, how it's hard to describe it, and also walking. I find walking very, very difficult. I can do it, but it takes a lot out of me, turning my head and moving, etc. So I'm just a little bit confused, as I don't think I have PPPD. I have vestibular hyperfunction, whatever that is. And will I recover from it? I'm not sure if this is the place to ask or whatever, but there you go.
Do you want to take this one?
If it's unilateral hyperfunction, not a stroke, then over time you can recover, but a stroke's a different matter.
Yeah, so what you'll have had in that initial instance of the 3 days will be something like labyrinthitis or vestibular neuritis, which has caused damage to the balance organ. And so we call it damage to the balance organ, the professionals call it vestibular hypofunction. So one side isn't working as well as the other, and that's what causes the imbalance. So doing, vestibular exercises, not being afraid of the dizziness. Like I said, you've had the smaller incidents, which will usually happen if you've been a bit unwell. You run down, you're already struggling with something, and your brain just, then it just doesn't work as well as it does. But over time, the more you do, the more active you are, the better your brain will handle these small blips. If you sit there terrified to move in case you get dizzy, it's going to take a really, really long time to get better.
But also it can turn into triple PD. So if it is taking a long time to get better, that's no longer caused by vestibular hyperfunction. That's then caused by triple PD.
So where do I go?
Yeah, it's a different thing. In my opinion.
Is it a conversation I have with my GP then? Because I have no medication for it, nothing at all. But
medication probably won't help, in all honesty.
No, it doesn't. And I have got better, but I wonder if I've reached my optimum of being better. That's the thing. Or do I just keep doing things because last time we talked about flying, and then somebody mentioned about the first time to fly. You just got to give it a go, and I actually did that in September. I flew for the first time to Northern Ireland, and it was no problems at all. And I asked for assistance on the train and assistance on the flight, and it was all excellent. And I would recommend it to anybody who might be worried about flying. Go for it, and you'd be surprised how you cope really well with it. So that was one thing. So I do. So I think I just have to keep doing what I'm doing, which is keep trying. But I just wondered if am I on the right diagnosis? When do I start thinking, have I got PPPD, or do I just stick with this vestibular hyperfunction, which is just basically a damage to my vestibular nerve, and just leave it like that and just keep on with life? Is that it?
Your brain should be able to compensate for unilateral, for just on one side hyperfunction. When it's in both ears, it's more tricky. But when it's just the one, your brain can adapt and use the information from the other side to compensate, and so you should be able to get normal life back fully.
I think I must have a very slow brain, I think.
So what I would suggest is looking at the Steady Coach free course.
Yes, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you, Kevin.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mary. So glad you did the flying. Honestly, it's good traveling, getting out to get your mind off all these problems that we live with. I think Claire, do you have any last questions, comments?
I just wanted to make sure that nobody thought I was duping them. I don't have and have never had a balance condition. I know, but I feel like a bit of a fraud now, because everyone's like, oh no, I'm here, I can share from my own experience. All I can do is share from the experience I have of patients coming in from you guys, and until I know all this stuff, we can't work to make things better. It's hearing these stories. The little clip that you showed, I was really in tears myself. I'm like, how can I even begin to try and help with this? It's just
all those people are fully recovered. They're fully recovered.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that people didn't think I was here under false pretenses or anything.
No. Goodness
I'm just
me.
Kevin's backup for questions and IT related things,
and
Claire, thank you for caring.
Yes, and work in an audiology department. That's what we want. So good. Look, Pippa, brilliant. I hope now, some 2 hours and 20 minutes into it, you're less nervous than you were at the beginning, because you've done a brilliant job for us. It's been really good, really, really helpful. And what a great meeting. What great video we've got now recording this for thousands of other people to see in the coming months and years. Thank you to everyone who's been here today and took part, because without you, there is no group. Apologies, Sandra, we've run out of time to take questions. We're back in December. December the 6th is our Christmas special with expert panel, which, putting Pippa on the spot, I hope we can encourage Pippa to attend December the 6th, but you don't need to tell me today. We do have another person here, Michaela. If you're still here, give us a wave. Or Michaela may have got, I can't see. But if Michaela's here, Michaela Burton, ex-Leicestershire NHS, will be on the panel. And Professor Ray will be there as well, taking all your seasonally related balance questions. But Pippa, thanks so much for giving up your time.
Thank you, Pippa. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So much information.
Claire, the not a fraud. Claire, thank you for giving up your time. It's been really good of you.
Is Christmas jumpers optional then for the?
Yeah, you have to wear a silly hat or a Christmas jumper. There's no option. It's mandatory. But thanks ever so much, everyone. It's been brilliant. Great questions and wonderful. We're all going to get to a better place, all of us. So look out for the email. You get an email transcript of the chat. I'm going to pest you about forming WhatsApp groups. Remind you, the key is talking to others, sharing, being more open. Nicola, we're all with you. Good luck with this tinnitus. We're going to get there with you. That's it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin.
December. Take care, all of you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.